to believe he wasn't. So it appears that he was here in Big Bear the entire time that escaped the search, which is just phenomenal considering how many people were searching around the clock, and maybe he was in that particular cabin for such a long time. If you come up here and ski, it's right next to Bear Mountain, and so a lot of people couldn't think go right past that cabin as they're heading up to Bear Mountain to ski.
Greg, I don't suppose anyone has offered any sort of theories for how that he was able to elude the searchers for so long, being so close by. Did they search that house and just not find him? Did they say?
They haven't said that. In fact, we were given some rather inside information on that, so that probably won't be addressed for quite some time. But it's certainly something that has to be addressed because it certainly makes you wonder how could he escape their attention if he was that close, first of all. Secondly, how could he escape their attention if he was anywhere in Big Bear, because they went house to house all over the mountain.
Well, I heard your coverage earlier, and you were saying they went house to house, actually went into the homes that were occupied. Now, explain to us what you know, how they search homes that weren't occupied, like the cabin you were found in today.
Well, that's true. Lena and Sylvia, they wouldn't go into those. I mean, what they would do is, if it wasn't occupied, they'd look to see if there was forced entry. If there wasn't, there was no reason to assume that he was in there, and they would move on because they just forced entry for the unoccupied, and if it was occupied, then you do open the door and talk to people and maybe go inside with guns drawn. In fact, is what in many cases they were doing, walking the entire length of the interior of the house with guns drawn, just to make sure that nobody was concealing anything voluntarily or involuntarily.
Greg, I know you've been up in the Big Bear area for much of the last week or so. Can you tell us what you're seeing and hearing now? Or people, you've got to be hearing a lot of expressions of relief at this point.
Relief, Sylvia and Lena, and shock, because I think that most people, my sense was this: we were here last Thursday and Friday, and this town was totally on alert, very, very concerned. Everywhere you went, people talked about it. But I'll tell you what, even yesterday and today, people were still talking about it, but rather casually, and would say things like, here's how I think it's going to end, and et cetera, et cetera. But now I think people are kind of shocked that he was still here, because people really felt, oh, we're hearing the thing about Tijuana, we're hearing the thing about he could be in Arizona, he could be anywhere, hundreds of miles away from here. He's probably not here. So I think they felt a false sense of security, as it turns out now, because they really, for the most part, people we spoke with, thought he was gone, when in fact, apparently, he was here the entire time.
Yeah, it really is incredible. Like you said, the search has scaled back a little bit, but they have not called it off. They were still searching the area, and we know that the kcla9 and CBS2 kept our crews up there. We were still on top of the story, and because we were able to get right on top of it today, and as you've been seeing all day as well, Greg, that our Carter Evans found himself right in the middle of this gun battle, and that seems to be the beginning to the end of the search for Christopher Dorner. So we are actually awaiting a news conference that should start at the top of the hour here. And as soon as that happens, we're going to bring it to you live. And we're hoping to get more information, perhaps a confirmation, although that's not guaranteed. It could come tonight. It could not come for days. We don't know, but we are waiting to get the very latest information on the body that was found inside the cabin, and if authorities have been able to identify it at all. We understand that that 8 o'clock news conference will be with LAPD Commander Andy Smith. And as Randy Page pointed out, the confirmation, if it does come, should come from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's officials, because that's where the crime scene is. They are in charge of the whole investigation at this point. And so we would think that we would be getting some information before there's any confirmation from LAPD. But we have to remember that we have had the San Bernardino County Sheriff spokesman Cindy Baughman say it is highly likely that Christopher Dorner was in that cabin. We've had the LAPD say it is highly likely that Christopher Dorner was in that cabin. And in fact, I think it was a local city councilman up in the San Bernardino area who said, and I'm quoting here, all of us will sleep better tonight. And that's probably an understatement. So a lot of people, especially law enforcement, are going to be feeling like they can probably get the first good night's rest in many, many nights since this all started. Probably last Wednesday night is when we first were put on alert that Christopher Dorner had been named as a suspect in the shootings of this young couple in Irvine a few days before. And that's when this manhunt started. And as we've seen, it turned out to be something that's quite unprecedented in Southern California, with officers from many, many different law enforcement agencies looking everywhere, from California to Las Vegas to Tijuana, with the border authorities alerted, the TSA alerted, and finally we are seeing a little bit of a different attitude out there. As we've heard from all of our reporters out on the scene, we've seen that there have not been any searches that are continuing tonight. We have seen the checkpoints going down this evening, and we have seen a general easing in the level of apprehension tonight for the first time, as we await confirmation that the body that was, the person that was in that house that burned in Big Bear tonight was that of Christopher Dorner. That is what CBS's correspondent John Miller has said, that he has confirmed through his law enforcement sources, but we have not had any official confirmation ourselves from law enforcement, and that's what we're waiting for tonight. Being joined now by our Sharon Kay and Rick Garcia for KCAL9 News at 8 o'clock. And we have a team of reporters out there on the scene, and again, we're waiting for that press conference, that news conference with LAPD.
Thank you, Sylvia. And in fact, LAPD will have a news conference coming up shortly, but we're also waiting to hear from the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department. And last word that we had regarding the LAPD, they really wanted to leave the critical announcement to the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, because it's in their jurisdiction where so much of today's activities have taken place. And it is also believed that it's the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department that could make the announcement that a body was found in that cabin, that burned-out cabin, and that it could belong to Christopher Dorner. We want to welcome you to KCAL9 News at 8 o'clock. I'm Rick Garcia, along with Sharon Kay. You can see this is exclusive video that was shot earlier in the afternoon from outside of Big Bear. Carter Evans, CBS reporter, and his photographer right in the middle of the action.
We'd like to welcome all of our CBS viewers who have been watching the State of the Union address to KCAL9 News. You are watching continuing coverage of the Christopher Dorner case. We are expecting a news conference from the LAPD, as Rick just mentioned, in just a few minutes, and we are also expecting a news conference from the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department. You're watching KCAL9 News at 8 o'clock.
Again, you're watching exclusive video that was shot earlier today. That's on the right of your screen, of course. On the left, that's toward the end of this process that began at about 12:20 this afternoon, not much later than lunchtime, when there was a report of a stolen vehicle, and it eventually ended up where you see those flames on the left at a cabin that the suspect, Christopher Dorner, was believed to have broken into. And the firefight on the right is where you can kind of see the roof on the right of your screen of that same cabin right there.
Yeah, this is all video that was taken by Carter Evans, who was on the scene, caught right in the middle of the gun battle. Let's listen to all the bullets flying around.
Watching what has been the climax of a week-old manhunt for former LAPD cop Christopher Dorner. On the right of your screen is a shootout that took place right before the eyes of one of our reporters. Carter Evans and his photographer on the left. That's the cabin that you see that's actually on the right. Eventually, tear gas was shot into the cabin. Eventually, the cabin went up in flames. There were reports, in fact, the reporter on the scene, Carter Evans, said he heard one final gunshot and then things went quiet. And authorities basically watched it burn.
We have the very latest up on the screen of what we know in this case involving Christopher Dorner. CBS News is reporting that Dorner's body was found in that cabin. A single shot was heard in that cabin before the fire, before the cabin erupted into flames. One deputy was killed. Another one is in surgery, expected to be okay. And that is the very latest.
And both of those deputies came from the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department. We are expecting a news conference from San Bernardino as well as LAPD. You can see that is the picture, I believe, on the left of your screen there. That is now live. The Los Angeles Police Department is about to hold a news conference, and they have been very careful and cautious to really defer any major announcements to the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department because much of this activity is taking place in their jurisdiction.
We are expecting Commander Andy Smith to speak to the news media shortly as they approach the podium. This has gained national news. A lot of people interested in this case, and we suspect that a lot of people will be able to rest tonight.
Well, especially the LAPD, a former member of their department, out on the loose. And here's Commander Smith. Let's listen.
Commander Andrew Smith. I'm the Commanding Officer of Media Relations and Community Affairs for the Los Angeles Police Department. I have a couple quick announcements and quick updates. First of all, let me say that the hearts of all the Los Angeles Police Department, Chief Charlie Beck, and the men and women of the LAPD family go out to the San Bernardino County Sheriff's tonight. We know they suffered a tragic loss. We know what it's like to lose a fellow officer, and it breaks everyone's heart to know what those poor officers and their families are going through tonight. So, on behalf of the Los Angeles Police Department and Chief Charlie Beck, our deepest sympathies go out to the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department for their loss tonight. I want to clarify a few things about the incident that occurred in San Bernardino with respect to the shootout and the burning cabin that's been out there. First of all, this is the San Bernardino County Sheriff's investigation. They have the lead on this particular part of the investigation. San Bernardino County Sheriff suffered the loss when their deputies tried to take this individual into custody, and they will be conducting the follow-up investigation into that incident. I'd like to clarify some information that has been put out there, or rather some misinformation that has been put out there. I just got off the phone with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. That cabin is still too hot for anybody to make entry. There has been no body located inside of that cabin. That cabin has not yet been searched because the fire is still too hot, as of 5 minutes ago, for anybody to go into there. Any reports of a body being found are not true. No body has yet been found in there. Any reports that that body has been identified as Christopher Dorner are not true. No body has been identified, and no body's been located. I'm not sure where this information is coming from and how it got attributed to the Los Angeles Police Department. This is the official point of reference for LAPD, so your information should be coming out of the Joint Information Center here. Any future information coming about that investigation is going to come from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, and their public information office will be providing that. Until we have confirmation, A, that a body is located, and B, that that body belongs to Christopher Dorner, the Los Angeles Police Department is going to continue on with its high-profile protection detail of our officers. We're going to continue to provide protection to our officers and those families that have been identified in possible threats. In addition, we're going to continue to provide security to all our critical facilities here in Los Angeles until A, a body is recovered, and B, that body is determined to be that of Mr. Dorner. So until then, that's as much information as I have. We will have another briefing tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock in the same place. I'll give you an update on anything the Los Angeles Police Department or our Joint Task Force has to add. Information about what's occurring in San Bernardino will be coming from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. I have a very quick moment to take a question or two, and I have a Spanish speaker here that's going to answer your questions in Spanish as soon as I'm done. Quick questions, one or two, and I can answer them. There. Well, that was a mistake. If someone said that it was all clear 2 hours ago, that was certainly a mistake. because as I mentioned earlier, that burned cabin has not even been entered by investigators yet. The cabin is still too hot as of about 8 minutes ago for our officers to go inside, or for the San Bernardino County Sheriff Officer to go inside. So we're still on a holding pattern to search that, to see if there's a body in there, and if there's a body in there, to determine if it's Christopher Dorner. And let me add that recovering bodies out of burned buildings, as you may know, is very difficult, and it's difficult to identify the remains of someone in a building. And that could take days or possibly even weeks to do a DNA analysis or a forensic dental analysis, depending on the condition of the body.
Tell us about the investigation, 1,064 clues, and why it's still taking down the...
Well, until Mr. Dorner has been identified as either deceased or he's got handcuffs on him and he's sitting in a jail, we're going to continue as though he's still out there. We just want to make sure, and on an abundance of precaution, make sure that all our officers and the citizens in Los Angeles are safe.
Are you also looking for a cop? Is that possible?
As this investigation unfolds, anybody who has assisted him in hiding from the police department, assisted him in avoiding capture, or assisted him in any way is criminally culpable. And I can assure you that the Los Angeles Police Department and the District Attorney's Office will leave no stone unturned to find out if, in fact, someone was assisting this man in his terrible crimes, in his eluding capture. Okay? Last question. We are still on a tactical alert. We're still maintaining high profile in all our facilities to make sure that they're secure, and we're still maintaining security on all our protected employees. I'll turn it over to our Spanish speaker for a few minutes here, Officer Norma Eichmann.
Well, that's an interesting update there. It had been reported that Christopher Dorner's body was pulled out of that burning cabin. You can hear that the LAPD Commander Andy Smith said that that is not true, that no body has been recovered in the cabin. It is too hot to enter for any recovery or any beginning of an investigation.
And that said, the LAPD is still on tactical alert. They're continuing to provide extra security to the people Dorner was targeting, and at a certain LAPD facility, he may have wanted to target as well. They said that if and when a body was recovered from all that debris, an ID would not be possible immediately. It would take days or even weeks.
Yeah, difficult to ID a body from a burning building. They certainly have the opportunity, if remains are not too far gone, to try things such as fingerprints, or at some point you might have to go to dental, but you can even look for things if a body's not too badly burned, like tattoos, identifying tattoos, or things like that. But they have not gone into the cabin yet, and at this point, I guess it's not even confirmed that there's even a body in there at this point.
Serene Branson is live at police headquarters right now. She's been watching that news conference. In fact, she's down there covering it. What do you make of all of this?
Well, Sharon, very interesting update from LAPD officers here. We just heard from Commander Andy Smith of LAPD here at headquarters. One thing he wanted to make very clear, they have not positively identified a body inside the San Bernardino County cabin as that of Christopher Dorner. And he actually said that no body has been recovered at this hour. So obviously there's a lot of information coming in and conflicting reports at this time, but he said he just got off the phone with the San Bernardino County Coroner's Office, and then in fact the cabin was too hot, as he put it, for anyone to make entry into the cabin and recover a body. So he said, A, a body has not been recovered, and B, it is not that they could positively identify a body as Christopher Dorner at this point. So he wanted to make that very clear. He also went on to talk about their active investigation at this time, saying that the city of Los Angeles is still on tactical alert at this hour. He said that they still have two-man units, meaning that all LAPD officers are not in a single patrol car, not a single detective, but they are all pairing up, still going in teams, and that all of the listed members of the LAPD who were in Christopher Dorner's manifesto as potential targets, perhaps, that they all still have added security on them at this hour, and they have not scaled back any of their extra resources, extra security that they've added on until they have Christopher Dorner, as they put either in handcuffs behind bars or that a coroner has positively identified them. So these are the latest developments coming out of the Los Angeles Police Department. We did see an officer from the Irvine Police Department here as well. Of course, you'll remember that they were the investigating agency who handled the case of Monica Kwan and her fiance who were murdered down in Irvine. So obviously a lot of investigating agencies taking part in this, from Irvine to the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department to the LAPD. But I can tell you kind of the mood out here at the Los Angeles Police Department, even though they have not made any positive identifications or been able to independently confirm that a body has been recovered from that burning cabin, is somewhat of relief and hope that maybe, just maybe, this has all come to an end. I have spoken with some wives of the LAPD who say they really hope that this will come to an end. We do want to keep